Every year, the National Press Club hosts an author night. We're here tonight with Steve Levine, author of Putin's Labyrinth, Spies, Murder in the Dark Heart of the New Russia. You talk about a culture of death in Russia right now. You want to talk about that?
Sure. The best line, the best way to understand, I think, what's going on in Russia and what's been going on for the last several years is to look through the lens of murder. And what I argue is that under Putin, under Vladimir Putin, that there is a culture, a structure in which murder and death occurs with impunity, and it goes on with the indifference of the Russian people, and I call that the culture of death.
Why does that occur? Why don't the Russian people know or care?
They do know, but it's been going on for centuries. They've learned. I track it back to Ivan the Terrible, and people are so accustomed to hardship in their lives, to death, to famine, to all kinds of terrible hardships that we never encounter. And so, if there is something that happens to someone very close to them, to your relative, to your mother, to your aunt, to your daughter, you care. If it's a murder of someone next door, of the village next door, maybe you could care, but you don't care, and you go on with your life.
You profile 6 lives and deaths of 6 different Russians in the book. Do you want to talk about one?
Sure. What about Paul Klebnikov? I think that's a good one. He's a good one because he's an aberration. Paul Klebnikov was the editor-in-chief of Forbes, the Forbes Russia edition. Grew up in New York. His background is Russian aristocrat, totally romantic about Russia. He went back there thinking that he was going to live the life that his uncles, that his grandfather described as he was growing up, and what he found was the chaos of Russia under Yeltsin, so that when Putin became president, he cheered. He was a huge fan of Putin, and he described him that way in his articles in Forbes. Then when he was murdered, this was very dramatic. How could this guy, who was such a fan of Putin's, be murdered? And Putin himself, in the other murders that I described, Putin totally indifferent about these deaths, and he even in his interview about the death of Anna Politkovskaya, another subject whose murder I described, he was derisive about her. But with Klebnikov, he actually went to New York. When he was in New York after his death, he visited with the widow, and he expressed his sympathy. And what did this tell me, and what it tells one, is that the culture of death is bigger than Putin. It's even bigger than Putin.